welcome back to Oh the Humanities. This episode is 31.
What?
It's true.
It's older than me.
Was that a surprise of the number, or that I'd actually looked it up beforehand?
A little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Yeah.
If that was years, this would be older than me now.
So
Hell.
we've starved ourselves of one another. This friendship is barren until we get we get together again. And
we haven't talked for a few days. I wouldn't say barren. That's probably a bit much.
Well, think of other words, like, is it a quarry?
A wasteland.
Yeah, your quarry has a wife. mine has a lack of tidying.
Well, that's interesting because I've actually moved since our last show.
The earth cooled, dinosaurs came.
No, really. I'm on the other side of the front room now. I'm now in the window.
You've got a new computer. I know that.
I've got a new computer, and thus we needed to rewire the entire front room, which was a pain in the arse. But now I have a nice new computer. It's faster. Apparently, it makes everything easier.
Well, I saw a thing last week because you gave me links to the computer place that you got your stuff from, and I was like, oh, let's have a look at some of that stuff. And this coincided with there was a new game graphics card. That's what they're called. It's
Game card.
New game card. Yeah.
Game look good card.
Yeah. Make it look real polish.
Ooh, nice, tasty.
And this graphics card is like the greatest thing ever, but it's something like 55% cheaper than the best on the market, and it's 10% better. And I was I was listening to clever people talk about things, and this
Digital Foundry.
No, it was on the lobby on GameSpot, and they got some guy. He was sort of an Uber PC clever man, and he was running through the tricks and foibles of the PC market, and I just thought, like, I have no idea how I'd get into this. And I remember the last time that I bought sort of a fairly decent PC a long time ago, which is now sitting in front of me and is very old. And I don't know quite how I get on with like tweaking settings to make it run good.
Do you know what I've done on mine?
Nothing.
Not touched a fucking thing.
No.
Yeah,
you just picked it up for like indie gubbins, haven't you? Though, really?
Pretty much. I installed.
To do this.
I installed like Borderlands on it. Just Borderlands 2 was the most kind of like mid-rangey kind of game I had that I could just install easily. Game's wank, but it looked alright. So
that game has not aged well.
Didn't like it. I went on and I hated it. I was like, oh no. I liked the first one. I enjoyed the first Borderlands quite a lot.
So did I.
Played the shit out of it.
This one is more like meme gun. That's what it should be called.
Meme
not
gun.
Borderlands 2, meme gun. Because I
there's a cat playing a keyboard. Shoot it.
I quite enjoyed a little bit that I played on rental, back with love film type stuff. And I waited for it to get cheap because of that Aliens money. And picked it up second hand for like £7 on Xbox One. And started playing it. I was like, this. I don't like any of this.
I enjoyed the brief demo I had. I went to a games thing in Brighton called Rezzed a couple of years ago when it was down in Brighton. And yeah, I tried like a 4-player demo with the other 3 guys I was with, and it was really, really good fun. Like, it was like sloppy and knockabout and silly without being too much. And like you open this up, it's like, hey, do you like jokes? Here's some jokes. Ooh, jokes. I'm okay. Moving on.
So you're bringing some games to the table today, I presume?
I got 3. 4 if we include that bit of Borderlands. So I guess 3.
Okay, I'm bringing almost no games.
Do you want? I want to know what you're bringing to the table.
And the
no. What's in your cup on your table? I need to know.
I've got veranda. I've got a very very juicy, fruity blonde roast, which I'm having as an Americano, and this is one that I've covered before, which is a coffee that when it cools down, it becomes more citrusy and it becomes more like a juice drink. And also for summer, if you get kiwi fruit and you cut it up into very small little bits and you put that into it, it's perfect. It's really nice iced. So I'd recommend.
So it's
that.
like coffee magic.
Remember it is a coffee is a cherry, not a bean. So the lighter roasts bring out the juiciness of the cherry, and like I say, it is a really interesting taste as it changes, as it gets sort of cooler and stuff. It's a beautiful coffee. It's very, very nice indeed.
Nice. Do you know what I've got in my cup?
Is it a regulation supermarket tea bag with perhaps what way?
No. What I have done is I've taken one of my pint glass that I got from Germany from my honeymoon. It's got a lovely picture of the Dom in Cologne on there. I've filled that cup with just plain water out of the tap, and then what I did is I put in an ice lolly, and I've let it melt, and it's gone all pink. I'll let you know how it tastes. I've not tasted it yet. Let's do a live test. Hang on. Oh, that's delightfully average. Oh dear.
That reminds me of the Dylan Moran thing where he's on about Monday Kids, and he says like they're lazing on lawns like drunken bumblebees drinking lattes. When I was a child, I didn't eat anything unless it was neon. So, yeah, I've been watching loads of stuff on following the previous episode we did where I was talking about things like Contamination and the Arrow films. That I'd started getting into. Remember we spoke about like rental versus streaming and how I used to love discovering films and really unusual stuff and falling into directors' commentaries and stuff. Well,
special features, etc.
Yeah, well, I've kept on with that, and furthermore, I've been digging some sort of really unusual stuff. So, can I start this time? Because I have something that I actually want to play to preface my first little bit, which is amazing, right? The dialogue in this and the scene setting is incredible. So I shall play this. It's 2 minutes or so long, but it's really, really good.
Well, enjoy this musical or not break.
No, hold on. Here we go.
Last night you asked me about the singular aridity of the land around this house. Once this land was fertile. Farms abounded. Earth yielded her riches at harvest time. There were trees and plant life, flowers, fields of grain. There was great beauty here. At that time, this water was clear and fresh. Swans glided upon its crystal surface. Animals came to its bank, trustingly, to drink. But this was long before my time.
Why do you tell me these things?
And then something crept across the land and blighted it. The trees lost their foliage. The flowers languished and died. Shrubs grew brown and shriveled. The grain fields perished. And the lakes and ponds became black and stagnant. And the land withered as before a plague.
Plague?
Yes, Mr. Wither. A plague of evil. Anthony Usher. Thief. Usurer. Merchant of flesh. Bernard Usher. Swindler. Forger. Jewel thief. Drug addict. Francis Usher. Professional assassin. Vivian Usher. Blackmailer. Harlot. Murderess. She died in the madhouse. Captain David Usher. Smuggler. Slave trader. Mass murderer.
Mr. Usher, I don't see that this has anything to do with Madeline and myself. I don't believe in the sins of the fathers being visited upon the children.
You do not, sir? The House of Usher seems to you then normal?
So that is from The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah, they don't sound like nice people, do they?
It's just, I mean, you can hear Vincent Price is amazing. I mean, like I was saying, following on from Contamination, the Italian B movie that I covered, which Arrow have released on Blu-ray recently. This was another one of those which I saw on stand in HMV, and Arrow have got incredible covers that they've had brand new covers painted, and they're just really, really attractive, that sing out from the stands. And I was looking at all these films and just going like, with Contamination, looking and saying like, what's this? And seeing on the back that it was an Italian mockbuster that was based on, loosely around sort of Alien when that came out. Seeing stuff that I had seen on there, like Big Trouble in Little China was on there. Rollerball was on there. And just, I was really taken with the whole stand. But Fall of the House of Usher's got one of the best covers. And I looked on the back, and I saw that it was directed by Roger Corman. Vincent Price obviously is fabulous anyway, but it's written by Richard Matheson. And Richard Matheson is an author who's responsible for I Am Legend, which was The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price. It was The Omega Man with Charlton Heston, and then Will Smith played, in I Am Legend. He did Stir of Echoes, which Kevin Bacon was in the movie version. What Dreams May Come, which Robin Williams was in. And he also wrote Somewhere in Time, which is an amazingly underrated Christopher Reeve song. So House of Usher itself, based on the Edgar Allan Poe story from 1839. The film's from 1960. And like I say, it's the premise on the back of the box does not do it justice. It's about a guy who travels from Boston to ask a woman to marry him. They used to work together, and he really misses her. And when he arrives at her home, that house is crumbling, it's falling down around him, and he's reluctly invited in, told to take off his boots and put on slippers, and you realise that this girl's bedridden, and her brother Roderick, who's played by Vincent Price, says that he should turn back because there's a curse on the house and a curse on the family. And this guy refuses to go home. Philip Winthrop, that's the guy's name, refuses to go home. And Roderick sort of runs him through this curse and how he's sensitive to everything. He was like, I could hear your boots coming down. I'm gonna play this again because I've got another clip. This is the second of the two clips.
Okay.
And Vincent Price is amazing, so I'll treat you to this. The script is fantastic, but the way that Price delivers the lines are just great. There's one bit where he's like, he's talking about food. It was like, I can suffer only the base palate mash, and I love it. But right, listen to this because it's flat out awesome.
Madeline and I are like figures of fine glass. The slightest touch and we may shatter. Both of us suffer from a morbid acuteness of the senses. Mine is the worse for having existed the longer, but both of us are afflicted with it. Any sort of food more exotic than the most pallid mash is unendurable to my taste buds. Any sort of garment other than the softest is agony to my flesh. My eyes are tormented by all but the faintest illumination. Odors assail me constantly. As I've said, sounds of any degree whatsoever inspire me with terror.
That's why your servant asked me to remove my boots.
Yes. And even so, I could hear you coming. Every footstep, every rustle of your clothes. I could hear your horse approaching. Hear the clatter of its hooves across the courtyard. Your knock. The grating of the doorbolt was like a sword stroke to my ears. I can hear the scratch of rat claws within the stone wall. Mr. Winthrop.
How about that? It's fucking ace. And I've just been.
He sounds a bit infirm.
It's I've been falling in love with film again in a way that I haven't for a long time. Like I say, the language is fantastic in it. Vincent Price, he sort of chews the scenery. He's a little bit hammy, but he's not. His delivery is incredible. He's working every alliteration, every syllable of that dialogue. The colours are wonderful. The transfer to Blu-ray is incredible. The clothing's fantastic, and there are certain moments where I just laughed out loud, and not because I was mocking the film at all, because I was like entertained. There's a bit where Philip's like, is she dead? And he's like, no. He's like, is she dead? No. Is she dead? Yes. And it's just like there's this like back and I think it's the other way around actually, but there's this back and forth that's just wonderful. It's pure stage play more than anything, even though they've got this wonderful house and stuff. And when I looked up a few bits online, they did, because the film looks lavish. It still looks lavish, even though it was sort of 1960, I think. And the entire film was done in 15 days.
Impressive.
Yeah, but it's great. It's really great. If nothing else, have a look in HMV and check out the cover, because it is stupendously beautiful.
Unfortunately, I live in a crap town now doesn't have a HMV.
Yeah, when you do venture to the big city,
I live in the big city.
It's great, but something unusual. And again, sat there on a Saturday night after a long shift with work, sitting there with a massive bag of crisps, just sort of giggling and crunching and dropping shards all over the duvet that I was kind of tucked under. It's great, and I'm enjoying going beyond the stuff that's laid out for me on streaming, and just picking into this unusual stuff and this quirky stuff. And I've got a bit more of that to come later.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
Fire away with thy first shot, sir.
Do you know the only thing I've watched really on telly? Just a very quick thing. The only thing I've watched with any conviction of TV, like live TV recently, wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm back in. Like, I go in and out with wrestling, and since like about 3-4 months ago, I've been like back in with it. I don't have the time or the patience or the energy to watch Raw and SmackDown every week, because that's 5 hours of wrestling every week, and I couldn't give it all that time. But I do like to watch the pay-per-views, and I watch a lot of wrestling channels on YouTube. There's one called What Culture, which is really, really good. They've got this kind of meta-fiction thing going, the same way Video Gamer has. Where they've got a title belt and they switch it around, and it's all backstabbing and betrayal. It's fun. It's good stuff. I saw Extreme Rules was the most recent pay-per-view, which is the night when WWE get extreme, but they don't really. They get a bit more extreme in some of the matches, but a lot of them were quite standard in the end. But there was a stunning match of the year, like candidate easily, which was a Fatal 4-Way match for the Intercontinental Championship, which is the belt they give to the little guys, like the smaller, more technical guys. Okay, so you've got the title holder, who's a guy called The Miz, whose whole thing is, I'm a Hollywood prick. And he comes out in this delicious kind of like gold coat that's kind of shiny and glowing, and he brings his wife out with him, and he's like, yeah, I'm awesome. That's his music. It literally says, I'm awesome. And he brings out with a shade, and he's a twat, but it's working at the moment. There's a guy, there's two guys, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who are guys who were big on the independent circuit. Both came over to WWE, went through NXT, which is kind of like the developmental show, and they're both on the main roster now. And they hate each other. They've been working together for years and years and years, but they, kayfabe, hate each other. And the return of a guy called Cesaro, who's known as the Swiss Superman. And he's
of course
amazing. He's like not the biggest man you've ever seen. Like, he's tall. He's not massively ginormously buff like some of them are, but he may be the strongest man in the world. like he can just pick people up from nothing and just throw them around. One of his special, like his finishing moves is like a big swing where he grabs their legs and just starts spinning around in a circle with them and can hold them up for 30, 40 seconds at a time, going round and round and round and round and round with the crowd counting every time he goes round. And he now comes out to the arena like James Bond with a tuxedo, white tuxedo jacket on, with the kind of the bullet thing tracking him as he walks along, and then it all tears off when he runs down in his wrestling pants. And it was a stunning match, so good. It kicks off, the bell goes, and Sami Zayn runs across the ring to kick his rival Kevin Owens in the face within a second of the bell going. Usually things don't start that quick, and it's like ding, 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 run, 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 kick, and the other two stand there just looking like, oh, okay. Right? It's kind of looking around at each other going, ooh. It was a lovely moment. There were lots of false finishes, like you were kind of this, 1, 2, and then someone would jump in and pull the person off, and the action didn't stop. It was a proper match. The rest of the pay-per-view was kind of crap, but that was a glorious match. And I genuinely think you might get into the theatre of it all. I honestly think that would appeal to you.
I think there are definite crossovers with the stuff that we both watch and enjoy, because of in certain regards to the Tokusatsu stuff that I've got on this side, and from the sounds of it, like you with wrestling, and even some of the anime stuff you said you've been watching, with just pure entertainment. And there's nothing better than sort of sitting down with your dinner or a drink before you go to work and stuff, and just kind of enjoying something like that. It's nice. And I don't know. I know you described it last time as kind of as, and you weren't meaning it in a derogatory way. You were saying about it being like dumb entertainment.
Oh yeah.
And I know you were probably searching for a word that you hadn't used on that, but I know what you mean. It's just the sort of stuff that you just sit back and kind of enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I kind of like it when things know what they are. Like we were saying with JoJo and that, it knows that it's not high art and it relishes in it, and it's right, here's something fun. I'm not going to try and drown you in pretension. Here's something silly.
Yeah, but I think that can almost, that sort of attitude can almost do these things a disservice, because a lot of the people are in it just for big ideas and crazy thing, and just it feels almost as if they're living in the moment. That that'd be a cool idea, let's do it. Where I watched a Tokusatsu documentary again yesterday that's on YouTube. It's an NHK anniversary. It's linked to the US Godzilla release.
Okay.
But it goes back into Japanese Tokusatsu right back to Godzilla, and then sort of moves beyond that. And they were saying that I think it was Ishimori, I think his name is, one of the creators of Godzilla, was saying he never said no to an idea.
Okay.
That he just wanted to see people get excited and kind of run with it and stuff. And I like seeing ideas where nobody's gone, nah, I don't think the audience will like that. Where people have just gone, that's bonkers, let's do it, and everybody just gets excited. And even on this documentary, there was a guy on there who's directed a few Ultraman X episodes, and he's a director that I've heard mentioned sort of since. And he was saying this isn't work. He says, I get so excited to come to work, to come here and create that. It's never lost that for me, and I love that, and that continually shows in the work. And even in the when I've been listening to Tokusatsu Network podcasts, and they've been, they know more about the people and the history and stuff. When they've mentioned stars from TV shows forming stunt groups, when they get older and still working within these stories and stuff, and that just warms me, because nobody's becoming I don't know, sad or morbid about it, or I've been doing this for a long time. Everybody seems to really love it, and I seize on that more and more, and especially, you know, I've mentioned previously my own sort of battles with depression and stuff. This stuff is just, I'm not even going to say like a salve, because I just sit there and I just pure enjoy it. And as a kid that grew up on, you know, big comics and big films and big ideas and stuff, you know, I can sit here on the morning that I watch Japanese telly with my friend Pete, and we're both just delighted at seeing these big ideas and this enthusiasm that's there on the TV, and also in that respect, seeing old practical effects and stuff, I just adore them. And especially when they're applied to the big ideas, and you just go, there's been a number of times where I've gone, how did they do that? And some of the techniques for them actually filming it is great. And yes, you might know that it's a model, but you're thinking like, this looks amazing. This looks way better than CG, because there's depth on the screen and stuff.
Excuse me.
Sorry. But yes, I can relate to that. So how did you get back in, and have you been watching it like when you've gotten in, or when have you been sort of sneaking
since
it in?
like, I mean, I suppose it's since Christmas, thinking about it, like, really, like I'm kind of just like, a few people have showed up. They've brought in a lot of talent from NXT, which is their like developmental show. And the thing about those guys is those guys have like better like characters and gimmicks and like things they do. Like I watched one of the NXT live shows they do. They do a few less than one a month, because the main like WWE do like one big pay-per-view every month. NXT gets about 4 or 5 a year, but they're always like superb. Like they're always so damn good.
And in the wrestling world, are these going down sort of better than the other stuff?
Yes, 100%. Like the main show at the moment has a guy who's the champion called Roman Reigns. You may have heard of him, or as he's known now, Roman Reigns. Boo, boo,
Okay.
boo, 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 boo. Roman Reigns, boo.
Keep talking. I'm going to light a candle
For Roman Reigns.
for love and peace throughout the world.
Well, he's
Also Roman Reigns.
He's a big guy.
Oh, the match is gone.
Now he's The Rock's cousin, kinda.
Okay. What, in real life or in
Sort
or
of.
in
He's
sort
kind
of
of
wrestling
a
land?
member of this Anai family, which is like a big wrestling family that has a lot of guys that have been in there. A guy called Rikishi used to be in it. There's some guys called the Usos. There's a long history of wrestling in this family, but obviously most notably The Rock. Roman Reigns, they're trying to push him as like the next guy, the biggest guy in the company, and the crowd do not like him. Like, as a wrestling fan, he is boring. He is rubbish. He's trying to be the next, like... Did you ever, like... Are you aware of Steve Austin?
I'm aware of the gentleman.
Of Stone
yes.
Cold, of how he was, like, this ultimate kind of, like, yeah, he's a badass, he's great, he doesn't like the man, he hates the man, he hates it. But, like, he earned that. Whereas Roman Reigns, like, yeah, he's a bad guy, he hates the man, but he's strong. And everything they do is to, like, make Roman look strong. And it doesn't work. He's got some of the worst catchphrases I've ever heard. His catchphrase at the moment, right, and I shit you not, is, I'm not a bad guy, I'm not a good guy, I'm the guy.
I prefer I shit you not.
Yeah, see? Right? But then you go to, like, to the NXT, the guys have had called up, right? There is a pair of wrestlers at the moment, right, who've just been called up, called Enzo Amore and Big Cass, right? And I think I found their intro here, and because it's that kind of episode, I'm gonna try and play you what they say every time they come to the ring. So here we go. I think I've got this right. If not, I'll edit.
My name is Enzo Amore, and I am a certified G and a bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. And this right here, this is Big Cass, and he's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, realest guys in the room, how you doing?
Right? It's it's doofy, and like their whole thing is like he drops like rhymes at people to slag them off. He styles himself as Smack Talker Skywalker, and he has a Mike Saber fight saber. Ooh. Yeah, like the whole thing is like all of his raps and rhymes aren't actually very good, but it's the delivery.
Yeah, it's in the spirit of it.
And you've not seen what these people look like yet.
I think I might have, because I'm sure you linked it on Twitter a while ago, and I
So Big Cass is he's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that. Enzo is a bit smaller, and his hair is like a leopard has had sex with a mohawk, but only on the sides.
You do have specialist needs on the internet.
Yeah, and he's got a strange beard, and he comes out. Last week he was wearing like a Wookiee jacket that had like the Chewbacca thing down the back, and he keeps dropping his microphone on the floor. He kind of runs in backwards to the arena and runs around backwards, getting all excited, while Big Cass just sort of stands there. He had quite a worry actually at the last pay-per-view Payback, where he was in the middle of a tag match and was sort of thrown to slide under the ring, missed, cracked his head on the rope, and legit concussed, knocked himself out, and the match had to be stopped. It was scary, you know, like his head snaps and cracks back, and he just lays on the floor, and you see the referee sort of throwing up his crossed arms, like, no, real problem now, guys. You know, come on, get the medics. And he came back last week very triumphantly, because the crowd went ape as he came back. And the line he said as he brought back was in the middle of the ring going, "If I had a dime for every time I got knocked down and didn't get back up again, I would have 0 dimes." It's proper good. And like, they're just the character, like they're fun, you know, they come out and you know they're going to drop something very funny on you. And a lot of the guys are like that as well, you know. There's the villains they've got are called the Vaudevillains. Their whole thing is like 1920s silent film aesthetic with big moustaches, and as they come to the ring it's all in black and white, and they kind of hold up their fists and kind of nod to each other being like, "Bully-o." It's weird. But, like, it's better than just, "I'm a angry, sweaty man, and you were not nice to me last week, so I'm going to push you over." That's all of wrestling, unfortunately. I think I've just boiled it down. Cool, I've just talked myself out of wrestling. Great.
Right, my turn then.
Okay, hang on. Just switch back to you.
What?
I'm switching it back.
Oh, okay.
I'll throw the buck over the internet.
Catch.
You have a very verbose hand.
I know. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension.
Oh, did you watch it?
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Oh,
it's ace.
Tell me about it. Not too much, because I want to watch it too. Give me a flavour.
Synopsis. Peter Weller is Buckaroo Banzai, a physicist, neurosurgeon, martial arts master, secret agent rock star who's just made history with his invention, the oscillation overthruster.
That sounds hard to say.
Yeah, I'm reading the premise from the back of the box. But the overthruster allows him to travel to the 8th dimension. But this feat draws the attention of the Red Lectroids, an alien race who have teamed up with Banzai's nemesis, the deranged Dr. Lizardo.
Wow.
Lizardo and the Red Lectroids are seeking the overthruster to take over the world, and Banzai, with his team of agents stroke band musicians, the Hong Kong Cavaliers, must stop them before it's too late. So again, this ties into the Arrow video releases and the section that I saw in HMV. And I was familiar with this film. I might have even attempted to watch it when I was much younger, but it didn't really make an impression on me. And I saw something, like I say, I saw it was part of this group, and there was a bit that I saw on YouTube with Kevin Smith. And he interviewed Peter Weller and John Lithgow about the film at the New York Film Festival in 2011, I think it was. And this whole video was joyous because the film's so bonkers and so out there. It's been likened to seeing like the Sex Pistols in their early gigs, that there might have been sort of 100 people in the audience, but 25 bands like sprang up from each of those gigs. And so many creative people watched the film, saw how utterly out there and sincere it was with sort of concepts and progression, that they became really quite bewitched by it. Weller and Lithgow were really taken by the the writer and director's passion at the time. But the film flopped, and yet they're kind of fascinated that people have still hung on to it. Kevin Smith mentioned seeing a poster in the back of a comic when he was a kid and being really taken with it and asking his local cinema for when it'd be showing and then bugging his local video store until they got it in. And yeah, that was it. They got a poster in it and he was like, "Oh, are you getting in? Is there a list?" And they were like, "I guess there is one now." He's like, "Can I put my name down for the poster?" And he says like it was because there are so many massive ideas in it. It was again a real springboard for his own creativity from there. So the cast is fantastic as well. So it not only stars Weller as Buckaroo Banzai and Lithgow as Lord John Warfin and Dr. Emilio Lizardo, but Jeff Goldblum as New Jersey.
Isn't he like a Mountie?
He's dressed in a cowboy outfit throughout the entire film. He's ace in it as well. And Christopher Lloyd as John Big Booty.
Sorry, what?
Like I said, John Big Booty, spelt BIGBOOTEE.
Wow.
Who's an alien, obviously. And it is genuinely his bonkers.
I mean, to be honest, it's not obviously.
No, it's you will love this film. It's just really out there, but it's so sincere and it throws so many ideas at you. The script is fantastic. There's heartfelt lines like "No matter where you go, there you are," which is great. There's daft stuff like "Laugh while you can, monkey boy." But also really off the wall stuff like there's one bit where two characters, I think it's Reno Nevada and Perfect Tommy, are running through this room, and there's a piece of machinery that's like a drill or a vice or something, and in between two bits, not even in between like a vice bit, but in between two pieces of metal, there's a watermelon, and one of them says, "What's that doing there?" To which the reply comes, "I'll tell you later," and it's never addressed. I seriously loved it. So yeah, that's another kind of big thumbs up. Wasn't so keen on the director's commentary because it is the director and I think it's Reno Nevada, but they're approaching the director's commentary as if the film that they're watching is a film interpretation of the real Buckaroo Banzai.
Okay.
Which is really... It doesn't quite come off for a director's commentary. It gets a little bit painful quite quickly. But there's loads of extra stuff on the disc again. But belter, you'll love it. It's just 200 miles an hour. And apparently the novelisation has even more stuff that doesn't make the movie.
Do they explain the war?
It's written by... I don't know, but I do want to read the novel. And I heard something said that I think it's Earl MacRausch, the writer, had the script, like rewrote the script loads of times, and I think it was lost at a certain point. And he just said like, "Oh, it doesn't matter, it's all up here. I'll just write it again." So yeah, it's great. I think you'll dig it. I think you'll dig it a lot.
Nice. So
another one with my movie ventures that's been a proper belter.
It's like you need a soundtrack for this.
Oh, it's great, and it's just making me so happy.
Movie adventures, a world of cinema fun.
Seriously, see it.
I'm gonna. It sounds like my kind of film.
Great.
Sounds like my speed, which is my
speed.
A lot of these things fast.
Are. I mean, I mentioned like the HMV thing, and we are not being sponsored by Arrow Video or HMV. But
if you'd like to sponsor us, please do. We could use the money.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Thanks. They're 6 for 30 quid in HMV at the minute, which is nice.
Reasonably priced.
Right, your turn.
Do you know what is reasonably priced as well? Right, Crunchyroll, manga and anime. It's very reasonably priced. We're not sponsored by them either, but it's a nice...
No.
Because I've been reading lots of manga.
Have you been reading it on, what, like a tablet
my
and stuff?
phone.
So I know it comes... Okay. How does that hold up?
It's all right. Some of them... There's a couple of things I've tried have been a little bit too small and fiddly. But generally, everything works all right, and you can put it into, like, panel view if you want, so you can just scroll through panel at a time, and it'll kind of zoom and flip around the screen. But like, I've had no problems. I mean, we all hold our phone an inch from our face anyway, so like it's fine. I can read it and it's all good. I have gone through many mangas far quicker than I thought I could.
Has this been kind of on lunch at work then?
On lunch at work, in the bath, sort of waiting to go to bed, reading an hour or so of manga, just flitting it in where I can. I'll read a couple in the morning if I'm up a little bit early, that sort of thing. Because what they've done, they've got like dozens and dozens on there. You can organise them by genre, not as much as like the anime you'd expect. There's a few less mangas than I thought there would be, but the good news is I've now burned through like 6 or 7 like complete collections of stuff.
What sort of stuff?
Okay, so where did I start? I've been through.
At the very beginning.
What did I pick first? Hang on, I've written them all down. First one I started reading was one called Sunken Rock.
Okay. How are we spelling that?
S-U-N, then space, and then a K-E-N, and then space, and then an R-O-C-K, like The Rock.
Okay.
Sunken Rock. It's a manga.
What drew you to it?
It looked... Well, I searched comedy first because I wanted something I could laugh at. I like comedy, action, sci-fi, and fantasy. Those were the 4 things that the crux of my searching. Because I don't want to read high school drama. I tried Persona 4. I didn't like it. I don't need more, thank you. So it was in the action and the comedy thing. I was like, well, that sounds like it might be my sort of thing. And the front cover had like a mad looking bloke with really tall hair, and like just like a suit jacket but no shirt, all kind of flappy and looking odd. I was like, well, that looks like it might be a laugh. Go on then. And it's about a guy who goes to Japan, or no, where does he go? It's been a while. I think he goes to Hong Kong to be like a gangster guy. He gets drafted in, and they want him to be the leader of their gang. His name's Ken, and they become the Sunken Rock group. And he's very, very strong, and he gets stronger and stronger. And he's trying to win the heart of a girl that he knew from home and left to go there, and he's followed her there. And it's like, oh my god, you're here too. But it's just like, you know what you're saying about things being like my speed? Like, it's my speed. It's a bit mad, and the fighting's really kind of over the top. And like, there's lots and lots of scenes of just like them walking down like a hallway towards something important, and as the feet go down, it kind of does a little sound effect with the word "don" as the foot goes down, which is like, I know exactly what they're trying to do here. Like, don, don, don. I just thought it was really fun. Like, it was amusing. It made me laugh. The art was brilliant. Really, really good. It's a bit filthy. Not one to read around the nippers. There are a booby or 2 in it. And quite a few members of the female part of the cast are desperately trying to do the sex with him, but he doesn't want to, but they keep trying anyway. There's a rather amusing section where he's trying to hide a girl under a blanket, and she keeps trying to do stuff, and it's like, what are you doing under there? He's like, nothing! It's all weighted out. There's no dicks in there. Sorry, got an image of a deer then. So that was fun. I'd recommend that if you want something fun that's, a little bit... It's not brilliant, but it made me laugh. Then I moved on to... What did I move on to? Thanks to Chris of the Chomp Chain podcast, I had a go of The Heroic Legend of Arslan.
Yes, I'm aware of this property.
Apparently there's a book and a manga and a game. And an anime, and there's many different variations of it. I have now tried the demo of the game and read all of the manga that is out. There's not much. It's only like 35 issues of it out at the moment, which isn't that much compared to like Sunken Rock's 180, I think it was by the time I'd finished. And it's kind of like historical. It's about a young lad whose kingdom's in the middle of war. He's like a prince, and basically, like with all stories about war, shit becomes fucked rather quickly. And he has to kind of go off on his own and kind of fight to reclaim back his home. With like one of his like strongest knights goes with him, and he meets another sort of legendary guy who wants to be a painter. And he convinces him to come along. He says, well, if you come help me, I'll let you be my court painter. And he's like, right, I'm in. He's not about being a lord or a captain. No, he wants to be the painter of the court. And it turns out is an utter badass as well, which is cool. But yeah, there's not an awful lot to it yet. I mean, I burned through it in about 2 days. But I enjoyed it. Again, there's a lot of characterization going on, a lot of heart. The action sequences are quite cool as well. And it does actually make sense that the game based on it is a very Dynasty Warriors style of game.
Yeah, I thought it was
because like the main like strong dude, whose name's Darion, is the kind of guy that turns up and like 1,000-strong army go, oh, it's him, let's go. If it's like him on his own, like, fuck it, let's just leave. We're gonna lose. And they do lose. They lose super bad. So Arslan was pretty good. I liked it. And that's being simulpubbed. So when a new one comes out, we get it as well. So I'm being kept up to date very nicely at the moment, because Crunchyroll will send you a little notification to your phone going, oh, the next one of these is out. I'm like, oh, okay. And
is that kind of nice to be on the cusp of like every new thing? Because I'm finding that with a little with a bit of Tokusatsu at the minute.
I don't keep up to date with many things. Like I think Game of Thrones is like the only thing I keep up to date with, really, these days. And will be with Preacher as well, but there's only one episode of that out. Turns out it's brilliant, by the way. Side note.
Cool.
Then I moved on to one I thought was really, really good. One called As the Gods Will.
I'm aware of this.
Basic premise is that
I mentioned the film in a previous episode.
Okay.
The film's I linked you to the film. The film's awesome. The lad from Kamen Rider Forza plays the lead in the film, and it's directed by Takashi Miike as well. Who was the teacher in
Battle Royale.
Film's awesome. Film is awesome.
Manga's good too,
So,
you know.
Yeah.
So it focuses on a high school student called Akashi, and a bunch of weird stuff starts happening. Basically, like the first thing is in a schoolroom, and this head thing appears, a Daruma, and it goes, "Daruma has fallen," and then after a minute, one of them dies, and they have to work out what's wrong, and only one guy gets out alive from the whole thing.
In the film, it goes, "Do-do-sama," and it would like at a certain point it will like turn round, and when it turns round, if any of the kids kind of jump or freak out, I'm sure like red marbles fall out of their mouth, and then their heads.
It's something like that,
which is fantastic,
and you
see kids falling on the marbles, and the film's fucking nice.
The manga's brilliant as well. Like there's lots of like kind of games, but they never end well for anyone. Lots of people die. Kids are being whittled down as it goes. At the minute in the manga, they're playing a card game with like trick cards where you're trying to kind of do old maids. You're trying to find pairs, but some of the cards have tricks on them, like stick out your chin the whole time, or you die if you stop sticking your chin out.
Oh, okay. It sounds like there's because I'm sure that there are in the film. There's the Durasama head. There's the Lucky Cat in the gym, which is fucking
We don't
awesome.
actually see that in the book.
It's really, really
just
well
hear
done
about
in the film. It's honestly, it's so good. There's the singing pegs.
Singing pegs.
Where, I think they're based around traditional Japanese characters. They must be, but they come into the room, and the kid gets blindfolded, and they start singing a song and rotating around the kid. And when they stop, he has to identify which one is behind him. Otherwise, they all bludgeon him to death.
Hang on, I think I've just worked something out then, because the manga, is called As the Gods Will second series. Is the main character of the thing you watched the guy who did the Daruma thing?
Well, it's one of the kids that's in that room, Although the film ends on a cliffhanger, and there's clearly like
there's
more
tons
to come,
of the manga. It's like 180 episodes. It's still going because I'm
Oh,
following his friend that went home from school after an argument with him.
Right, so I'd really need to link you.
Wow,
to the
we
film.
need to like swap this because I need to see the other side of this. That's why it's called second series. I get it now. That's been driving me crazy for weeks.
What else is there? There's a thing with a giant papercraft polar bear,
right?
And with regards to lying, which is fantastic, and then there's kind of a climax to the movie. But the movie's awesome,
mate.
and I loved like Sota Fukushi for me is an old school film star in the fact that he's really handsome, he's a really good actor. Everything I've seen him in is really different from the last, and that's the reason that I found it, because I was looking at the other stuff that he was doing. So,
that's great.
We'll liaise on this. I'll dive into So,
you get
yeah,
to you get
100%.
to read the Pyramid of Sand one.
We do swapsies and then we come back into the middle. So next time we do this, we're going to have an As the Gods Will, and you can tell me about the movie, and I can tell you about the manga. And so
Man,
yeah,
that's
that'd be
great.
cool.
Oh, there you go.
We've done this.
Links. What else did I read after that? Done. Read that. Fort of Apocalypse was my next pick.
Which one?
Of Apocalypse. Okay. So it was in the kind of actiony one. I thought we'll give it a go. So it's about a youth prison where you know teens, bad teens who do murders and bad things get sent, and a kid's there who says, "I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything wrong. I've done nothing wrong. Why am I here? Like I didn't do it, but he's been sent there anyway." And by all accounts, it looks like he is pretty innocent, you know. And after he's there, after a few days, it appears that the world has become zombies. Zombies everywhere. But obviously this this youth prison is okay because they've got their doors shut, they've got their big walls, you know, they've managed to survive it. And they're sort of by a coast as well, so they can't get them. And it kind of follows like them trying to work out what's happened and what's going on, and they kind of venture out into like the zombie world as it was a few times, and they kind of meet different types of zombies. There's one that's like picture a man, but like a really gross looking half like rotted away man trying to be a dog. Like
cool.
On like four legs, like leaned over, but still a human person, but kind of smushed into a dog shape. It's terrifying. I turned the page, I looked at this thing that they'd drawn on this page, and I was like, are you... Nah.
Nope.
Nightmare fuel. It is awful. Again, really interesting, and it's not super long. It's about 130, 140 issues long, which isn't much.
Ongoing,
Finished.
or does it close itself
Done and finished.
off?
Done and finished.
Okay,
It ends quite quick. I thought it ended a little bit too sharp for me. I thought it had a few more legs left, but it's great. Well, it's really, really a good little read. And to be honest, with the Crunchyroll, if you're getting, I think you spend like £5-6 a month on it or something. Like, the amount you can burn through on the manga is ridiculous. Like, I'm running out now, which is great.
I mentioned before that was my first access to Tokusatsu when I started watching Ultraman X, and it was so successful for them. They just started bringing in loads of the old Ultramans, like the original 1952 one, Ultraman 80's on there. There's a number from like the 90s and 2000s, and I think you'd enjoy them quite a lot.
Cool. I will. Then I caught up with Attack on Titan. I'd already read up to about issue 65, 70 before, but now I'm totally up to date with how we are. And Attack on Titan's brilliant. And there's not more than that much. I think it's up to 86. I think so.
Because I know the waiting. The second series is still coming, like manga wise. Isn't it? Sorry, he's still coming out.
I don't feel like
it's not quite there.
I'm not sure if they've got enough in the book to do the whole second series yet. They might do. I don't know where they'd break it, but like, there's definitely like shit's going off. Like, they're in another phase of what's going on now.
Because the whole team has done, anime-wise, has done. I'm sure it's called Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, which they say is essentially Attack on Titan with either I think it's vampires. Which apparently the animations.
Oh yeah, I think you were telling me about this the other week.
Yeah. So I'm still eager to tuck into.
So that was a quick one, and the last big one I've probably read. I tried it because I saw this appear on Netflix and thought, and didn't go back to it. And then I saw it appear here and thought, go on then, I'll give it a go. I've been reading 7 Deadly Sins.
Yeah, apparently it is really popular in Japan. I saw a bit of the first episode on Netflix, and the animation was just shit out.
It's not brilliant.
So I kind of stopped watching it.
But I've been through everything that's been released in the manga. 175 still ongoing. And we're about halfway through the series now. I've been watching it with Laura. I kind of like it. Like, I don't feel like I should like it, but I'm enjoying it, if you know what I mean. Like, something in my head saying this isn't that great, but I do enjoy the characters. There's a character called Barn in it who can't die. So he gets, like, kind of, rammed through with a big sword, and he just kind of laughs Like, what's going on? It's like, doesn't tickled a little bit maybe, and just takes it back out and carries on. Frequently gets cut in half and has his head sort of smashed off, and a few minutes later he's back like, yeah, that hurt. You've ruined my jacket again. God damn. It's a characters more than anything that make it fun. Like the classic kind of like anime manga style of like, we're all gonna do our big attacks and we're gonna say what they are and everything's gonna blow up.
But if you know the tropes and you like the tropes, then that's
it's classic like anime fights all the time. Like doing my dark nebula, but I'm gonna do my full counter and it flies back at you. It's silly. I like it. Animation, it's sort of okay. It's okay. It's not brilliant on the series. I'll give it that. I think it was a Netflix original in cohorts with Aniplex.
Yeah, I think they're putting money into quite a bit now after Knights of Sidonia was such a big
I think
success.
It's a good pick as well.
Knights of Sidonia is fucking
Seven Deadly
amazing.
Sins, I think, is a good pick as well, because I think it's a bit more like kid friendly. I say that there's copious amounts of breast touching, but like it's a bit more kind of like, you know, colourful and shiny and like, oh, look at me, colours. I like it. It's not special, but it's fun. It's a good read at very least. I enjoyed it, and the art in the book's really nice as well. Really run it clean. You can always tell, because I find with some mangas, I'll get to this in a second. When you read it, like the action scenes can be a little bit kind of like, I'm going to draw a squiggle on a bit of paper, and then I'm going to draw a speech bubble in the middle, and I'm going to write "Hia," and that's the fight scene. It's like, what's happening? I can't tell what's happening. But this is like really clean, like all the explosions and attacks. Like, I know what's happening on this page. I know what's happening there. The world is exploding, but I can see how it's exploding. You know, I like to better see what's going on. And this does that very, very well. Better than the thing I'm currently reading. Because Crunchyroll teased me with this. He said, hey, look, there's 470 issues of this out. You should read this. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a go. They've only got as far as 370 back in the archive. And I ain't starting from there. I'm starting from 1. So I downloaded like the entire archive of this, fully legally, of course, from the internet. I am reading Fairy Tail at the moment.
Okay, I'm familiar with it, but I've not seen or read any of it.
I don't know if I like it or not. I've read about 30 issues of it, and I don't know if I like it.
But you've read 30
That's
issues
nothing.
of it.
Oh, honestly, no. Compared to the drop in the ocean at this point, I do that in my sleep.
Are you talking 30 chapters or 30 like? Because when you said 30 issues, I was thinking like 30
Oh, well, I mean
books,
like,
but I presume it's
these
30
are chapters.
chapters.
These like 20 to 25 pages a pop.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The combat, while like it's like, oh, big things are happening, like it's very squiggly wiggly. Like when they're kind of arguing with each other, it's very clean, and you can tell who's like, oh my god, I'm upset with you because I'm saying I'm upset and I look upset and my mouth is open. Like, it's a little too strong for me. Like, I like it to be a bit more subtle than that.
I think it's aimed at a certain audience,
I think,
though, isn't it? I think it's really kind of your sort of 12-year-old audience,
but they say shit
really.
and bastard all the time.
So do kids.
But I'm not sure. If I'm
in
read,
the same way as maybe, you know, like in Western comics, like a 10-year-old will really identify with the energy in a Rob Liefeld drawing in the way that an adult wouldn't. No, but you can see
Don't
how
invoke Liefeld here.
No, you can see how a kid would look at that artwork and kind of identify, like, I don't mean this as a criticism, because, you know, a kid will go, oh, I can do that, or there'll be something that's a concept that's so outlandish that whilst, you know, as adults or you could kind of go, oh shit, no. But as a kid, they might go, yeah, look at that guy with massive guns and shoulder pads. And you know, that's sometimes that clicks with certain audiences and sometimes it doesn't. So I think it's probably like laser targeted towards that
Probably
audience.
right. Probably right. I'm going to give it a little bit. If it's not improving, I'm going to probably sack it off, I think, because I'm not clicking as I would. I'm going to try Coppelian next, which is about like, I've only really read the blurb and I can't really remember what it was. Girls have superpowers and the world is fucked and they solve the problems. is what I remember from the blurb. That I'm probably doing that a massive disservice. Do you know? Let's not say probably. I am doing that a massive disservice. But that's my next thing to read, I think. Cool. That's all the manga that I have read in the past few weeks. I've read many, many, many mangas. I've run out my battery on my phone several times. But it's okay. Like, you can do it on your phone. Like, don't be scared of doing it on your phone. It works. Right. What's your next thing, sir?
Well, my next things were discoveries from last night, actually. And even though I was at work really early today, I was up watching these last night and the race. They're old TV shows, but I sought them out and stumbled upon them on YouTube, bizarrely enough. So I didn't even have to like download these. But the first one is a Japanese telly show from.
I'm sorry to break your flow there. I just got to the bottom of my long drink, and all the fruity stuff was in the bottom of the glass, and it was horrible.
You are a child, sir.
Jesus. Okay, carry on.
My senses are so that I can't drink even anything more than the most palate mash.
With modicum of flavour.
See, I tied that back in. I can hear the rats scratching in the walls. Anyway, so yeah, the first one is a Japanese telly show from 1980 called Special Rescue Police Winspector.
What?
Special Rescue Police Winspector, or Winspector for short. It starts off with a bloke who's stolen a baby and an oil truck and is heading at high speed through Tokyo. I presume he'd have to... I don't think you see the baby in the oil truck. Okay. He's pursued by Winspector. Winspector are two robots, Bikle and Walter. Bikle can fall on his tummy where wheels come out, and Walter can fly. There's also a Winspector called Fire, who's a human who can turn into a robot policeman.
What?
Win. It turns out it gets better. It turns out the bloke in the truck is a Terminator-like android designed to walk on the surface of Mars, but has been sent by a rival professor to steal the granddaughter of another professor and drive the truck containing the granddaughter into that professor's house and blow all of them up. It's daft as balls. It's wonderfully entertaining with some fabulous moments. There's a bit where I think it's Walter climbs onto the truck and gets punched out by this Terminator thing, and he goes into a garage where he goes through the car wash and he gets tickled, and then when you see like all the brushes like come back, he's just like all these like ching, 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 like goes really sparkly, and there's this little girl that kind of cheers him on, and he walks over to her and she like kisses the front of his visor, and his eyes go
It's like a cartoon.
No, this is live action. It's one of the Metal Heroes series from the 80s, which includes stuff like Space Sheriff Gavan that I've mentioned before. But yeah, it's if you look on YouTube under Showa TV, SHOWA TV, it was on there. So I watched an episode and was like, I'm pure entertained by it. And then I kind of bounded into Chojinki Metalda, which is another metal hero. A villainous bank plans to destroy the world.
A villainous bank?
And by that I mean a bank full of villains posing as bankers, which is genius. I don't know how they've not done this before.
Bank.
Yeah, but nobody's ever really set them up as a bank before. And like the head of the bank kind of transforms into this villain who sits on a throne, and then there's all of these. He goes into this room and there's just all of these other kind of strange motley crew of people. One of them looks like he might pal up with Brian Blessed in Flash. He's great. He's like with a bare chest and kind of underpants like tucked just under his nipples. But yeah, the rest of the story, the scientist returns to Japan to activate Metalda, an android in the form of his son who died in the war. Metalda has no experience of this world, but when feelings kick in, he gains special powers. It was brilliant. Highlight episode 2 when he returns to the lab and he's greeted by a talking Doberman called Springer, and essentially they've got like a Doberman and they've just put like a coat around him with like flashing lights and stuff, and they filmed this Doberman And every now and again, where they'll kind of relate to a bit, like the Doberman looks down and they'll dub over like, I really miss the scientist. And they just use these like stock footage, and it's ace. The Doberman doesn't bark at all; it wanders around, and they seemingly like dub in like his voice like wonderfully. But it's nuts, and they've teased in the next one. They've now given him a motorbike and a sidecar which can fly. And this this house that rises from the ground in 3 parts, and there's also a car, this Nissan car, that seemingly does a thing like the car from Mask, where the doors become wings and that can fly. Although I've not really seen that yet. That's on YouTube again. I think it might be under Show It TV. It's bonkers. I fucking love it. Proper love it.
Sounds like my shit.
Yeah, it really is. And the next one I'll plug into this little segment before I pass it over again. I watched Mirai Sentai Time Ranger. Now, folks like Michael Nixon, who's kind of become a bit of a senpai to me on Super Sentai.
Good.
Rate it as one as kind of Super Sentai's finest. So Super Sentai, if you're listening for the first time, is Japan's version of Power Rangers, and they take all the action sequences and the costumes, then they refit it, change the storylines, add Western access, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've always been curious about this, but it's never been available to download on the subsites, and suddenly like loads of it arrived a few days ago. So I watched the first few episodes with my mate Pete, and it is glorious. The tagline is people from the future in the year 3000 AD and one man have met by chance for the sake of marking a new passage of time, which says nothing. Basically, it's a prison full of villains. A prison full of villains escapes into time and is chased by a hastily formed group of teenagers. It turns out their commander is actually a villain, and in their pursuit through time, they actually help the villains escape into it. Time travel involves a portal opening, a ship manoeuvring to a runway where a giant robot essentially 10-pin bowls it through time.
Right.
When the kids arrive, they're greeted by a young lad and instantly attack him because he's the double of their double-crossing captain. How? Is he an ancestor? What's going on? The villains begin to attack the city, and the teens ready themselves to help out, but it takes 5 to activate the chrono changer, so release the lad in the handcuffs and head into battle. There's amazing practical effects that actually left me and Pete wondering how they've been done in parts. There's loads of heart, it's tons of fun. It reminded me of the way that I clicked with Legion of Superheroes when I was a kid. Some of the villains, like the ones that they just call like cannon fodder, are these sort of gold robot type things that have this really, think of almost like a jolly Hitler walk, and just kind of just sort of
like Hitler, but on a good day.
It's part Hitler and part Ministry of Silly Walks, right? But and like loads of them go into the town and start ransacking the town. But the weird thing is that it almost does that Souls thing of something being going beyond being silly and actually coming across as like a little bit wrong, like a little bit disturbing. And there's parts where they're ransacking this town to get loads of money, and like shooting people and knocking people out of the way. There's like blood and stuff like that. And the way that they kind of do this jolly kind of kick walk afterwards is really weird, but in like a good
Uncanny
way.
Valley, but for creepy stuff.
It's there's a bit in the second episode where they catch up with a car and they're running alongside this car, and the way that they run is just like what? It comes across as creepy and creepier. And Kamen Rider's always had these villains that are in like black morph suits with skeletons painted on them, and they all go like nee, nee. And yet you see like loads of them together, and it just comes across as like a nightmare. it comes across as really sinister and twisted, and you feel like putting your hands over your ears and just going like, "Look, make it stop. This is horrible." But the Mirai Sentai Time Ranger is absolutely amazing. Really, really good. Like I say, tons of heart. The special effects are amazing, and a robot bowls a ship through time. And we were wondering, like the budget must have been, because I think it's year 2000, like this came out. The budget must have been like pretty impressive, but we thought, well, it'll be like big opening episode, and they'll scale it back after that. But the second episode, they end up calling a robot through time to help them. And as these parts of the robot come through time, they pass through the dinosaur era, like Aztec, and they just see like people, like this dinosaur goes like, and like looks as these like 3 ships go tearing across the sky. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And you know, it's a little bit Thunderbirds. It's a little bit Greek mythology, I guess. I had old school Legion of Superhero connection to it. It's fab. I loved it, and some of the stunt work again is superb. So yeah, great. But the more that I fall into this stuff, especially finding the older bits, the more I just continue to be fascinated by it. I want to find more and kind of love it all the more. But yeah, I mentioned Michael Nixon. If anyone is curious on this kind of tokusatsu journey, Michael Nixon had a YouTube channel which ran for about 2 or 3 years called Geek Crash Course, which details the history of not just tokusatsu stuff, but loads of other superhero and telly stuff like Doctor Who, Thunderbirds, all that kind of, and like regular superhero things, as well as, you know, the history of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, the Metal Heroes, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Geek Crash Course is amazing, but that's been one of those that every now and again I'll just go back to it to look at history and just go like, that looks good, and then sort of try and find out more about it. So yeah,
nice.
It's fab. The
Okay,
ball's back to you, sir.
well, finally, let's get to video games.
Okay, do your video game.
3 video games I have to talk about today. And spoiler alert, all 3 of these video games are very, very firmly on the list for my Game of the Year candidates.
Okay, do 2 of them. Then I've got a video game thing to plug in, not a massive one. Then do your next one, and then I'll close a little bit of.
Okay,
of
I'm going to start with. Hang on, let me just get a pen. I'm going to do that one, and then that one, and then that one. Okay. Right, first video game. I had a week off last week. I had a bit of time on my hands. You know, I thought I'd play some games. Like, we didn't have much planned, so it was a nice week to just sort of sit down and just bang through some games. And I've been doing that a lot recently, just kind of picking up odd little games and just whacking through them. Klaus, I finished recently. I may have spoken about with you a while ago. Really fun, bang through that. But the one I picked up at the start of this holiday was a game called the Talos Principle. On PS4.
Oh yeah, I saw you.
And if you're not sure what that is, it's got the thumbnail of a robot holding a little kitty cat. That's how I think of it, is the robot kitty cat thing. There's no kitty cat in the game. That's a trick. Unfortunately, there's no kitty cat in the game. So Talos Principle is a first person, or you can set it third person if you want, but first person ostensibly, puzzling game. Much like sort of Portal, The Witness, that sort of thing. You run around, you use the tools in front of you, and you solve the problem. Initially starts very Roman. You wake up, it's very clear you're a robot from the start. You can see your robot hands. And there's a big voice in the sky that sort of says, "Welcome, my child. You must go through my gardens and find my sigils, and they will let you through to the next parts of my gardens. And if you find them all, then you will become lord of these gardens." Mwah! And it's like... all right, something's weird already. So you start moving through the game. You pick up the sigils you see are actually glowing Tetris bits, and you use those to unlock locks to get through to the next part of the game, which is kind of fun. But basically, you're going around kind of like very simple at first maps, where you connect up like lasers to doors, and you can kind of put boxes on switches and jump on them to kind of get up stuff. Things get a bit more complicated later. You get like a button that lets you record a version of yourself, so you can go around and do some stuff, and then run around next to your sort of clone doing other stuff and using it so you can jump on your clone to get up to other spaces, and like it's very head twisty as it goes forward. But as the plot progresses, you kind of find like computer terminals filled with like bits of ancient writings and philosophies, and then like the odd email here or there from someone, like the odd flippant email about first, which is intriguing, and you're reading it thinking like, what's going on? Something's happening here, but I don't know what it is. And like, I'm not going to talk any more about that aspect of it. But the way it unfolds, it's a slow unravel. Like, it's a very slow... It reveals itself really nicely over the course of the, I would argue, 10 hours, I think it took me to bang through. Like, you just get hints and things just dripped and dropped through, and it's always worth checking at the computer every now and again. You end up getting in an argument with an AI on the computer who keeps quizzing you about things and then picks holes in the answers you give him, which I believe is different depending on which answers you pick. Which is cool. Lots of arguments about kind of like philosophy, like what's it mean to be a person, like deeper than it looks, you know. And as it goes through, you know, you're solving the puzzles and hurting your head, and like you at one point you come to a big tower, and the voice in the sky says, "Yes, you may visit any of the lands around here, but don't go in the tower. You shouldn't go in the tower. Bad. Don't go in the tower." There's lots of kind of overtones of like, you know, the Garden of Eden in there almost, you know, with the serpent. Sort of offering, you know, the temptation. They dip into a lot of Alexandrian stuff as well, about the library that was burned, and like it all seems kind of completely like random at you start. Like it's just odd bits here and there. Like, what does that mean? Okay, great, cool. You're telling me some history. Good. I don't know what it means. I'm trying to solve this puzzle with this box. But as you move on, like it all kind of links together and it starts making sense. And the game like reveals itself and finishes like so well. Like it's a proper finish. And to kind of talk anymore would be to kind of spoil it. But yeah, it's wonderful. I think it was like £10 on PSN when I picked it up. It was cheap.
I know. I think Darren Gargett's been talking about it quite really impressed by it.
I follow on Twitter called David Roberts as well, who writes for Games Radar. He's evangelized over it as well, and absolutely. But yeah, it's stunning. Really, really good game. If you're in the mood for like a puzzly game, about 10 hours long. I think it's usually around £30, but like I said, I found it for 10. I wouldn't have felt bad spending 20 on it. Like it was a good game, and it made me think. And like Laura was sitting on the sofa next to me, and we were chatting about what we thought was going on. And every time we found a new like audio diary or like email thing, it's like, well, what's that mean? What does that mean? Really, really good game, stunning game. And like, I came at the end, I sat down, and I did that thing where you finish a game and you sit there, you just watch the credits, like, whew, and you just
that's a good feeling, man.
You can't do words, you know. You're like, ugh. So that was a good way to start my week off. Doing what I think might be one of my favourite games of the whole year. And then I'm going to skip over the next game I played. I'm going to finish on that game.
Okay.
I'm going to just take a running jump over to Thursday of this week. After recording on a Sunday night, I picked up a game from my friend Sean, friend of the show Sean, who works at Polygon and The Verge and Vox and all that people.
He can just be your friend Sean.
No,
our friend Sean. You don't need to give his CV. It's not LinkedIn.
Well, I wouldn't say friend.
Oh, fair play.
Like, it's my acquaintance.
Yeah. I
mean, I know him.
Time has passed.
He lives nearby, so, I mean...
Yeah.
Other human, Sean. I love you really, Sean.
From a street nearby.
He lent me, well, once gave me even, his copy of Uncharted 4.
Oh, really? I wondered why you were playing that. Not because I know you are the Sonyist of ponyists, and that this is officially on brand for you. But I didn't know... I was surprised when I saw you playing it because I didn't know you were a fan of the games, or I didn't know if you just picked it up because it looked super pretty, or
I think
the reviews.
we met. I think we met and started talking properly after I got over my big Uncharted phase. I think.
Oh, all right then. Yeah.
I think Uncharted 2 was my favourite, and I thought 3 was all right, but it wasn't quite as good for me. Like I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the 10 out of 10 that I thought 2 was. You know, and I was a little bit down on number 4 because I tried the Vita one as well, like the Golden something, something like that. I didn't like that at all. I didn't think it controlled very well. I didn't enjoy it at all. I was a bit down on 4. I thought, well, I'll pick it up when it's like 20 quid, but I don't want to spend sort of 40, 50 quid on a game I'm going to play once and then never touch again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to burn through it and then be done with it. Like, I don't want that. But I was chatting to Sean and he said, no, I've finished it. You can borrow it. You can have it if you want. I was like, okay, cool, sure. So what I did is I took it home that night. On the Thursday night, I played the first 3 chapters, so the prologue and 1 or 2 chapters in. And then on the Friday, I beat the remaining 15 to 20 chapters.
It's amazing. Because I've heard that, I think it's after, as daft as it sounds, like after chapter 12 or something, after 10 or 12, it suddenly like broadens out. The levels get amazing. And I'm sure somebody was just saying that it becomes like your favourite things about games. Like, just nailed.
I would completely agree with that. Like, they have vehicle sections, right, that aren't shit. Like, they're really good. There's a bit where you're driving around in a Jeep in like a big open sort of, like deserty looking landscape in Malaysia. And you're kind of going up like these really orangey cliffs and like the mud's slipping and you can't get the car up them. So you have to kind of go to the rocky bits and drive round. You spend half the trip arguing, like, why didn't we get one with better suspension? Well, you wanted the one with the winch, but that cost us twice as much. And bickering away, and then a few minutes later, you use the winch to get yourself out of a sticky slot. And it's like, told you, winch. And, like, the levels are bigger, but they don't feel like you're getting lost.
How's the Spider-Man type stuff? Because it looks fun.
It's great, man. The jumping and the climbing. To be honest, the jumping and climbing I've always enjoyed in Uncharted. I've always enjoyed like leaping from thing to thing, and it's just as good here. And like they give you the grappling hook this time, so you can at any time you want, if there's a grapple hook nearby, you can leap out, give L1 a quick tap, and just swing like a dickhead, and then kind of jump off. And sometimes you'll grapple onto another thing, and sometimes you'll land on a dude and punch his lights out. Sometimes you'll have to sort of leap across a gap, swing, and then jump and grab a wall before you fall in the sea. You will fall in the sea a few times. It'll happen. It happened to me. But, like, you're just going on this, like, grand pirate ship adventure. Like, you're searching for buried treasure. That is legitimately, like, the aim, is you're looking for a pirate treasure. And even as you're doing it, like, every now and again, the characters in it, Nate and his brother, Sam, will be like, we're looking for pirate treasure right now. This is cool, right? Is this cool? This is cool. We're going to have to be a bit excited, right? This is cool. But on top of the whole, whiz, bang, whoopee, boo, boo, I actually think the gunplay's really good in this one as well. They don't put too much of it in. There's a lot more exploring and driving and kind of exploring these landscapes and puzzle solving than there is gunplay this time, which I actually really liked. I didn't get stuck on a single combat encounter.
Cool.
Which was nice. They balanced that right down now. But on top of all the whiz-bang piratey woohoo, which is, let's be fair, fucking incredible, they've also got this other story on top of Nathan trying to sort of reconcile his family life with the smuggling life. Because at the start of the game, he's given up on that sort of life. He lives at home now with Elena from the first game and third game, with all of them. Shut up. They've got married and they're just living at home now and just sort of having a normal life as it was. They sort of talk about, it's your turn to do the dishes, yada yada, and it's like really nice sort of touching moment, but you can sort of see him getting a bit wistful. Like there's one point where he kind of get lost in a picture of an island when she's talking, and he kind of gets his eyes sort of glaze over, and she says, "Are you still here? Where are you? Are you listening?" But like nice. And he kind of, his brother turns up and he lies to her to get away to go help his brother out. Like he lies to her. And you sort of see it play on him, and as that evolves over the course of the game, like it's a real kind of like honest and like earned kind of drama. Like it's not just like, oh no, the horrible things are happening. Like it's nuanced, and like the facial capture they've done on Drake and Elena particularly, like they're talking to each other, but something's not right, and you can see it like in their eyes, like the way they're sort of talking and the way they're not saying things sometimes. They're sort of quiet, like he sort of says, "Oh, this is nice. We should come here on holiday when this is all done." And the way she says, "Yeah, we should." Like there's that really kind of definite kind of undertone, but it's not forced on you. Like it's subtle, and it's nuanced, and it's not it's not your soap opera. I'm leaving you kind of stuff. It's nuanced, and it's fascinating to watch unravel as well.
Do you think that's the Neil Druckmann influence? Because I know they threw out a lot of allegedly threw out a lot of the stuff that Amy Hennig had done before she left. Stroke was pushed, whichever way it was.
I don't know. Although at the end in the credits, she gets her own page of the credits as a massive thank you to Amy Hennig for everything she's done.
That's really nice.
Like her own single page of credit for her, just for her, which is okay.
Yeah,
it's nice to see.
That's honourable. I like that.
It's really good, really, really good. And yeah, it might be, the whole Druckmann thing, because there's certain sections of it feel very Last of Us in places. I know because they made certain bits of The Last of Us feel very Uncharted. But it's like they've learned from that and they've brought that forward and they've really used what they've learned in Last of Us to make Uncharted 4 a better game. And I've finished it, like I say, basically in one sitting. If you exclude the hour I played on Thursday night, I just spent the whole day playing it and finished it about 11:30. And I'm glad I did it that way because it meant I could just take all of the story in one big go. It was just a constant, it was like binge watching a TV show, but I could play it. And I was involved, and I was the main character, almost. And tell you what, this is one of the prettiest games I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've heard.
Good
that
God!
There's lots of people gotten lost in the photo mode as well.
It's so much fun. I took one the other day where I was just mucking around on a roof and was trying to get down the ledge to look around and hit the jump button and jumped off into space.
I saw that picture, yeah.
Yeah, and just hit the photo mode button and thought, let's get a picture. Come on. Fucked it. Absolutely fucked it. But I've been messing around with that. And when you finish the game, you unlock the ability to buy render modes and a bunch of silly extras. And I bought all the fun ones with my first run's money, which was really good. So you can render the game in any of the photo filters you see that you can use for the photo mode. You can play the whole game with the filter on. So you can play it in black and white or
cell
sepia.
shaded and stuff like that, yeah.
Yep, cell shaded looks incredible. It looks very Borderlands, but a really refined version of that. I think it looks better than Borderlands looks when it's got cell shaded on. I honestly think so. You can make it look 8-bit, where everything pixelates. You can make it, and I shit you not, you can play the game in ASCII art. And it is exactly as terrifying as it sounds. It is, because I paused it and I zoomed in, and it's literally proper ASCII characters all just kind of coloured in all over the screen, and you can see what's going on. It's amazing, and it runs at the right frame rate as well. It's not doing any more processing power to do it. It's bizarre, really bizarre. And they've got some zombie mode where everyone looks a bit dead, and an inverted one as well. Some really cool stuff in there, and you can dress up the characters as well, so you can spend the entire game with Nate in a tuxedo if you really want. Which, of course, I have done.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
Are you? I mean, come on. The standard, obviously, infinite ammo's there, but you can also unlock mirrored worlds. You can play the entire game with a mirror universe. You can have it set to mirror on death to kind of throw yourself off a little bit, which is kind of fun. You can set the game to have no gravity. So when you shoot a die and he dies, he will just float away. It was fucking hilarious. But yeah, I banged through it. I was gonna start playing it again yesterday, immediate second run, and I kind of got 2 chapters in. I thought, you know what? No, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna back away from it. I'm gonna play the other game, which I'll talk about later. Get back into that, and then I'm gonna come back and play it again later. But for all I thought Uncharted 3 was just alright, this is back up there. This is as good as Uncharted 2 was, if not maybe possibly better.
Cool.
It's fucking... I can't stop thinking about it. And that's probably about as good a recommendation as you can give.
I agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've played some fucking brilliant video games these last 2 weeks. What have you been doing for your last thing? Second to last thing.
I'm going to interject the only bit of video game thing that I'm going to mention here. I did have a few video game things, but I just wanted to talk about nerd stuff for the most part. But I've been meaning to talk about this for a while and really want to, and that's a place on YouTube called Easy Allies. Easily my favourite video game outlet at present. Our friend Sarah Farron recommended me the latter iteration of Game Trailers a few months before it was sadly closed by its then owners, and I didn't really watch any of it, I must admit. I saw the stories for Easy Allies that they'd, after the closure of Game Trailers, they'd stuck together, had gone to Patreon, and continued to produce content. As each new goal was hit, new shows would arrive, eventually, hopefully building towards getting a new studio. The shows in the meantime were intimate, passionate. Carl Bosman in his kitchen, Michael Huber in his living room, each talking from the heart. There were 2 brilliant podcasts, which I genuinely look forward to. Toy Box Tuesday, where Brandon Jones shows off his Infinity collection, and there were things like I didn't realise that the there was a film title, Lone Ranger. I didn't realise that was essentially like Red Dead Redemption. So there were little surprises in there as well, but really good people playing games, and even if in that degree it might not have been something that I'd have approached myself, it's just interesting to take in and be in that kind of company. It was an amazing show, which I immediately thought of you about, called Dumb Game Monday.
Okay.
The premise of which is that we didn't used to be able to choose our games all the time when we were younger. We might get them bought for us for birthdays, Christmas, by relatives, but we would learn to love those games because they might be the only games that we got to play. And on these vids and in the stream, you can poke fun, but you can't be mean at those games. You celebrate them, and you love them. And there's been games like G-Force in there, the Disney film based on guinea pigs, is it?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's been loads of sort of tie-ins like that. There's been a Power Rangers game in there. Again, just really warm and really celebratory. And I like the premise of that, because it just warms my heart again. Michael Huber syndrome this week is a perfect example of why I love Easy Allies. A time where I'm seeing journos complain about E3, Michael is excited. He's excited that other folks are excited, and he's exploring kind of potential dreams in there. It's really passionate. It's really genuine. I've watched that episode twice now. It's a belter.
Wasn't that are they the guys that had the video doing the rounds where he flipped out over Shenmue?
That was back on Game Trailers, yeah. With the yeah. And that
which some people I know ragged on ridiculously.
Yeah,
Come on, let a man have fun.
Again, we've spoken in the past about people in the games industry being kind of quite snide and quite I don't know. I like seeing honest responses like that, which are warm for games. That this is a time where I can find certain sites that are either really bland, or certain people coming across as doing it because it's a job. So wonderful to not only sit amongst such exuberance, but these people fought to keep doing this, and those who love them fought equally to keep them doing it. You were saying about Uncharted. There was a great Carl Bossman video recently where he was talking about the house that Nate and Elena share, and saying it actually feels like a real house. There are clothes on the floor. There's a magazine over there, and you can see another one that's been kicked under the dresser. And this bathroom actually looks like somebody's lived in this bathroom. And he was talking about this environmental storytelling again, but it was just celebratory of games. And I mentioned a little while ago as well. There's a tabletop gaming show on there, which obviously is more your thing than my thing. But I really, really love their work, and they're super passionate about what they're doing. So I'd recommend it to you particularly. I think that Michael reminds me of you a lot, and I just love it to pieces. And I think you probably dig it as well.
Cool.
Bounce into your game then, sir.
Okay.
Your final game.
And I apologise if it's got a bit bassy up in here, but I have new neighbours last week. And they like the bass. Oh, do they like the bass?
Are they all about that bass?
They all about that bass. About that bass. No respect. Because I noticed that the floor was shaking the other day. It's Laura had to go around and send shut up. But yeah, and many bikes just went past the window, and when someone gets in their car and immediately boom, baka, comes out of it, you're like, oh, you dick. Can't stand people that play their music out loud in public.
Sorry about that.
Shitty hip hop.
I won't drive near your house again.
Please don't.
Game me up then, motherfucker.
Video game, right? Now, this is going to be... this may cause some issues later in the year. Because the game I've been playing that I really like may very well be a candidate for my Game of the Year slot, but it was also in my games of last year.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yes, I have been playing The Witchman 3.
And you finally, like, super gotten into it, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, I've been super into it before. And then something came out and I got distracted. It could have been Dark Souls 3, it could have been something else. But you know what it's like. You play, you get into an RPG and you get so many hours in and then something distracts you inevitably. And for whatever reason, you don't find your way back to it. And again, I looked at this week off and thought, this is my chance to get back into The Witcher. Like, I want to do this. Because I want to play, like, I want to get onto Fallout at some point. But I want to finish The Witcher first. You know, I don't want to sack it off. So again, I was able to give it time. I sat down, I booted up, and I kind of worked out what I was doing and where I was and what I was doing the last time I finished up, because I hate that in an RPG when you can't remember what the hell you were supposed to be doing. Took my time with it, you know, planned ahead. And for some reason this time, like you say, it just clicked. Again, I was like, this is brilliant. Like, and I was doing odd quests, and what I decided to do was not to progress the story for a little bit. I was just going to, you know, run around and upgrade my gear a bit and go on a bit of a treasure hunt and find the diagrams I need to get my next set of gear and kind of finish off some side quests and do some Witcher contracts where you're kind of hunting down a specific beast. And as I was doing this, like, it's very apparent that every single quest in the game, every single thing you can do has something interesting or fun or funny or poignant or unique or special about it. There is no fluff in this game. It is all good content. To sort of put it another way, like, in something like an Ubisoft open world game, there's always that list of, like, hunt down 100 of these or do 10 of this mission. No, that's not there. You have an open world, it's a breathable world, like, people do things in it, like, people are living their lives, and every contract and every side quest you can pick up is something strange going on, and, like, some of them are quite quick, some of them are cut and dry. You turn up and some guys are trying to rob someone, but you have to work out who the good guy is quite quickly, and it usually dissolves into swords because not that clever. And oftentimes you'll pick up, you know, what seems like a simple quest and end up travelling halfway across the map, hunting something down. There was one I did the other day where I'd picked the quest up in the main section of the game in Velen, which is like the kind of the forests and open fields and cities half of the game, and ended up meeting the guy over in Skellige, which is the Viking piratey islands and sea bit, which is fucking fun. Like, it is really fun to go hang around in Viking towns, like, proper fun. And you meet him there, and he's trying to find a black pearl for his wife. Because it's something, you know, that she used to have one, and, you know, it reminds her of the old days. And he's trying to get her one, and he'll pay you handsomely for it. So you meet him out there, this old bloke, and he says, well, can you go swimming for it? You're like, yeah, I can do it. So you go swimming, and you take your time, but you find this pearl, and you give it to him. He's like, right, okay, where's my money? And he goes, actually, I don't carry money out and about, because there's bandits about everywhere, isn't there? And then Geralt just kind of does the... he does a lot of weary sighs. It's like, fine, well, I'll meet you back at the so-and-so inn at so-and-so place, and we'll get it there. So some time passes, and I do around, and I go finish the quest off, and I meet him up, and we're chatting away. You can choose your dialogue options. There's lots of optional ones, which I always pick out. It's like, oh, how did it go? Did she like the pearl? And he went, I think so. It's like, what do you mean you think so? He says, well, a while ago she started to forget things, you know, she started to forget people's names, and she started to forget where she was, and she started to forget me. And back, you know, when we were younger, she had this pearl, and I hoped it would maybe bring her back a little bit to me, you know, bring her sort of back into the real world. But no, it didn't work. She just looked at it like it was nothing. So I guess, it didn't work. And Geralt kind of just goes, oh, I'm sorry. And they just sort of look at each other and sort of shrug. And that's the end of the quest. Disappointment and sadness.
And it continued to kind of resonate afterwards, I presume.
Because I think on Twitter, oh Christ, who was it? I think Chris from Chomp had just done that quest. Like the day before, because I remember saying, like, oh, a bloke left some money at home and it ended in sadness. And I totally, like, oh my God, I know which one you've done. and we had a little kind of internet cry about it. But like every single thing I've done, I know I keep saying this, but every single thing you can do in The Witcher, like there's a point to it. Something fun is there, something interesting, like a good bit of story, a good character, like a fun scenario you can get involved in. You can just turn a corner, like, oh, there's a giant. Oh, piss, I'm not ready for this, and run away. And it's had a pretty substantial improvement last week as well.
Yeah, I heard there'd been a big update to the UI and the responsiveness of the combat, and there's
everything.
It's incredible that they've still been tinkering about with the main game when they've been getting ready for
Blood and Wine.
highly anticipated second DLC. So.
Which I'm a long way off yet. Like I want to finish the main game, then I'm going to do Hearts of Stone, then I'm going to do Blood and Wine. I want to earn it. You know what I mean? So I booted it up just on the off. You know, as I was doing, I was playing it every day. Like this looks different when I load up the world map, and there's now like a mini map in the bottom corner, so you can see what you're looking at on the entire map. You can lay custom markers down on the map, whereas before you could put one down. Now you can put up to 30 with different icons as well. So there's like a red skull one. If you know that you're going to get wrecked if you go somewhere, you can put that down and that will flash up. You can put down blue ones to mark a path as well. I used them quite a bit actually in a quest that I found by accident and was following along and was doing it without kind of following a marker. I was just kind of starting the next bit and kind of following something along. It was really fun. The menu's been totally overhauled. So now in your inventory, rather than have just... here's a pile of things you can use, here's a pile of these, here's a pile of these. It breaks it up into, right, here's swords, here's armour, here is your oils to apply to your sword, here's your potions, here's your bombs, here's your alchemy stuff, here's your crafting stuff. And it breaks it all down and makes it so much easier and faster to go in and pick things out. And like, particularly when you're trying to fight, you're running around and, oh, there's a vampire kind of monster, right, what do I need to kill the vampire? And you check your menu, it's like, right, okay, I need to use this vampire oil and this kind of bomb. And you go to your inventory and you used to look at it and go, I can't see my vampire oil. And you have to scroll through every damn item to find your bloody vampire oil, and it takes far too long. Now you just go, right, oils, 1, 2, 3, 4, there it is, boom, and you're in, and it's done. They've made the quick menu a lot easier as well, the menu where you very quickly choose between what spell you're using. It's bigger, the fonts are bigger, you can change more options in there. So rather than just picking a crossbow, you can pick your crossbow and then choose what kind of bolts you have in it. Without having to do menu fucking around. The crafting has been significantly improved. Just fonts have been made bigger. If you're missing a component for a crafting recipe, so say you're trying to make a special armour and you're missing one of a particular kind of thing, and that merchant sells it, you can just press triangle and you will buy that item straight from that menu.
Cool.
Rather than going out the menu into the shop to buy the item, to come back, to realise you only bought 2 and you needed 3, to go out, to go into the menu, to buy the thing, then to go and find it again. Because there's lots in the menus, you know, it takes a while to scroll through this stuff. And they've just sped up and they've refined and they've really, really like thought about how they're going to change it. And it's fucking 10 out of 10. Like,
Sweet.
As far as UI updates go, I've not had many of them in my video games, but this one is the best. I actually can't think of the last time a game I liked did a UI update ever.
Yeah, I still have unfinished business with the Witcher 3. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to that at a certain point. But I think
certain stories. How far did you get? Very far? Did you play it?
Really not very far. I'm sure it was one of those where, because it is quite a dialogue-heavy game, it wasn't really one that I felt that I was able to jump into at the end of a day when people have been talking at me.
That's quite fair. Same thing. Like, when it's late, I'm like, meh.
So again, in a couple of weeks, like when I'm off, or at a future point where I've got a little bit more time on my hands, because I think you've got to be all in with it.
Yeah, I'm thankful that I was able to give it, 4, 5, 6 hours a day for like 2 or 3 days in a row. I mean, I'm on to, I'd imagine, 65, 70 hours now.
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
I've not done like half of what I want to. I think I'm level 25. I think that's good, but it's not close yet. Like, I can make loads of armors that I can't wear. 40 is the highest level of armor that I've got a recipe for that I can't wear yet, and I know it's going to take me a while. And it's got the cool thing where if you are like going through old quests to kind of get them off your list, quests that are made for a less capable man, they dramatically reduce the amount of XP you get out of it. So, like, I did a quest. I'm level 25. I picked up a level 16 quest that I had sitting there for a while. Did it, and like, you did it, badoom, and you get some money, and you get 2 XP. You're like, what? What? I was just doing these to get my what? And then, like, you think, well, maybe it's quite clever because it means you can't get too overpowered. You can't just burn through like lots of easy quests and then be over leveled for the entire game. I really like that they've thought about that and said, well, no, if you're going to do ridiculously easy quests, you get nothing. Except for the experience and maybe, whatever loot you find in the game. But, like, as far as XP goes, it helps keep you on a level where the game remains a challenge.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that a lot. It's clever.
Sweet.
And plus, all the coats look really good.
Is that the most important thing?
I
Whenever I'm playing a
swear.
game and I see, like, a daft hat, I always think, yeah, iPadding.
I swear to God. So there's like 4 schools of armor you can craft and upgrade, like Witcher schools that are like good armor. Like, there's no point using anything else. Use Witcher gear; it's the best. And you can upgrade them. So like you start with like say the cat armor, for instance, of the cat school, and it's quite a light armor. It's got like a vest with like just like very short sleeves on it. So you've got like bare arms on this armor, and like sort of quite light gloves, and you upgrade it, and the actual appearance changes. Like, it becomes like a long sort of blue jacket with like a high collar and some sort of thicker gloves and stuff. So as you upgrade stuff, it changes appearance as well. Which is amazing, because each set of this Witcher gear has got about 4 or 5 different levels you can upgrade through it. And everything changes every time. Oh, I'm in it. And the Bear School gear has a lustrous long coat. And do you know what I'm like for a long coat?
I do.
Oh,
I do.
That fashion souls. But yeah, Witcher 3, again, may very well be in the running for my Game of the Year list. Even though it was in my Game of the Year this last year, I feel like I got more out of it this time. So we'll see how that goes, shall we?
McMarvelous.
Yes. So I have all my things done now. I have emptied my talk box.
So my last thing is just a little bit more Tokusatsu stuff, but sort of catching up on things that I mentioned in the last episode. So Kamen Rider Amazons continues to be utterly wonderful, and has received a season 2 order. We wondered as such, like my friend Pete and I did, because every episode is a letter of the alphabet. It starts with a letter of the alphabet, so 13 episodes wouldn't really have gotten through the alphabet. So that's pretty cool. Screenwriting and direction continues to be absolutely top drawer. And the way it's now playing around with conventions of knowing the team and getting to know these people and seeing how they interact is just ace. So I've got episode 9 waiting to watch tomorrow. Alex Fucile? Did we settle on that, or was it Fusil?
Fusil.
Yes, okay. Checked it out following the previous Nerd Out and described his thoughts as... he said, right, I think that Amazons is the best Kamen Rider show I've seen in ages. It smacks of things like Alien and The Thing. It's got a real horror edge that a lot of newer Kamen Rider shows seem to miss. Script is superb, in places feels very Deadly Premonition, and the soundtrack is great. Some places remind me of a film called Tetsuo the Iron Man, which is a great film, and has the same creepy industrial vibe. Love it. So, yes, that's continuing to be a belter. And then, finally, Dubutsu Sentai Zuoga, the current running Super Sentai series, which is kind of Animals meets Minecraft, which is ace. I've now watched up to episode, I think, 11 of 16.
Okay.
Direction, again, was phenomenal. Not this Western, like, cut bollocks, but framing a scene, working with stunt teams to find the best way of encapsulating the action and just letting it unfold. There was one scene where a fight took place and the camera pulled back, and you realised that first bit they were filming through a hole in the wall, and they zoomed backwards to another fight scene, which was ace, and then it just one single camera movement, but it was great. And I looked up the director for these episodes, and it was Takayuki Shibashi, who directed the amazing Kamen Rider 3 movie, which was my most watched film of the last year. A Zuoga movie's coming soon, which is Dobutsu Sentai Zuoga the movie, The Heart-Pounding Circus Panic, which is just a great title.
Right.
Which will be on a double bill with Kamen Rider Ghost the movie, The 100 Icons, and Ghost's Fateful Moment, featuring Dark Ghost. So they're essentially giving me Professor Zoom of the Kamen Rider Ghost universe, which is fab. I'm not really that much of a fan of Kamen Rider Ghost, but I'll have me a dark version of that anytime. In the next few episodes of Zuroga, I've got a potential 6th Ranger in the form of Mondao Misao, a Deathgalian assassin sent to defeat the Zurogas, who doesn't just have the power of one animal, nor two, but rocks the powers of wolf, rhinoceros, and crocodile, and is billed as the strongest dark hero ever. Yes.
Okay.
And Amazon have apparently found so much success with Kamen Rider Amazons that they're planning on legally bringing more Kamen Rider and Ultraman to Western shores, including a spin-off of Ultraman Orb, the series that doesn't start itself until July, and Amazon have got a spin-off coming in December. So, yes, happy lad.
Nice.
And that's me done for now.
Cool.
I'll
covered
dust my
ground
hands.
today.
I'll go like... done and dusted.
Wow, that's a lot of ground. That's like 1 hour 50 says my counter at the moment.
Yeah, I thought we were going to kind of be in and out quite quickly today, but
clearly not.
We've talked. So thank you for listening. I am still CJ at Coffee Jesus on them Twitters.
I am still Paddy. My name might not be that on Twitter. I can't remember what it is at the moment. At Paddy Stardust. I'm easy to find.
Yes, so thank you for listening. We've got some fun stuff coming up, hopefully and definitely.
Prepare for lots of words.
Yeah, well, there's stuff coming, but yeah. So in the next few weeks, there should be quite a bit, and hopefully something a little bit special, maybe in the future. So thank you again, and we'll see you soon. And watch some of the stuff and play some of the stuff, and let us know what you've jumped into and what you've seen. And goodbye.
Recommend me some manga. Bye.